the session ends, I'm going to send you a follow-up email, which will have a link to this session from today and also a link to the upcoming webinars as well. And the other thing that I always like to mention is if you have any questions at any time, you can either just drop that right into the chat box through the webinar itself, or just use the little reaction at the top and I can take you off mute and we can talk about these things together. But, by no means feel like you need to save those questions till the end. I actually prefer to hear them kind of as they come up throughout the webinar. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get started here today. So the topic of today's webinar is how to get the most out of Office 365 with Microsoft Teams and Priority Matrix. So we're going to be looking at kind of a mashup between using Priority Matrix with Teams and with Outlook 365. So that's kind of what you can prepare for today. One other thing that I would like to mention is if this is your first time learning about Priority Matrix or really hearing anything about it, I would definitely say stay tuned today because we're going to go over a couple really cool things about how and where you can use Priority Matrix through Teams. That's going to be kind of the focus of the session. But what we won't be going over is the basics. So, the basic fundamentals, how you can get started, some of the nitty-gritty features for task delegation, team collaboration, things like that. So if you are looking for more of that kind of standard introduction, I would definitely, again, say stay tuned today, but definitely check out either a pre-recorded session on our YouTube channel or join the next introduction, which I'll be doing live this upcoming Wednesday. So hopefully that kind of helps prepare for what we're looking at today. But, kind of overall, what is Priority Matrix and how are we able to help so many organizations kind of stay on track? So Priority Matrix is a project and task management solution designed to help organizations align their priorities, stay connected, and essentially make sure that nothing is slipping through the cracks. So I would love for you to kind of take a moment and think about how is your team currently going about team collaboration and things like that. Is it emailing? Maybe it's through Teams, maybe it's spreadsheets or Slack, or, more commonly than not, it's actually all of the above. So, kind of think about that for a second, and then we'll compare that to how Priority Matrix will actually fit into your day-to-day. But if you're up for it, drop those comments into the chat box. I always like to hear those and kind of see what your day-to-day looks like currently on your side. But what is the Priority Matrix approach? What Priority Matrix allows you to do is to utilize visual prioritization methods, which will help you at a quick glance understand what you need to get done today and what things can wait till a later date. It will increase visibility for your leaders, your management, individual contributors. Any level using Priority Matrix will undoubtedly have increased visibility. You'll be able to centralize communication, and we'll definitely take a look at that today, how you can kind of get all of those updates and changes into one place. And Priority Matrix also helps you have shorter and more effective meetings, which is also something that we'll take a look at today because those functionalities are driven directly through the Teams integration. So, of course, the big topic today is all about integrations with Office 365 and how Priority Matrix will help you use those solutions more effectively. So definitely download Priority Matrix for Microsoft Teams, install it for Outlook 365, and that will kind of automatically set up the integration of SharePoint, which we'll also look at today. So, definitely I am going to be doing the live demo portion for today, but I kind of just like to share a couple of screenshots to paint the stage as to what we will be looking at, and then I'll flip the screen and we'll actually go through it live. So we're going to take a really quick look at the full featured integration with Microsoft Teams. We're also going to look at how you can use Priority Matrix through those Teams chats, through the channels. I guess that will be the next slide. But with that, you're going to be able to use action cards to create context when you're collaborating with your teammates. We're going to look at how you can actually take a comment from Microsoft Teams and prioritize it so you can set deadlines, delegate it, make sure it's not forgotten about. here's that picture of what it looks like through the Teams channel. And then we're also going to be looking at how you can manage emails through Teams and through Outlook 365. So that's just a very, very quick intro, but we are going to be looking at all of that live right now. So this is a really great time. If you guys have any questions, we can kind of pause for a moment and I can definitely answer those for you while I get a couple things organized on my side, just to make sure that this all makes sense for us today. Okay, so again, I would be kind of curious to hear who has attended the introduction or the advanced intro sessions in the past. I see a couple of names that I'm definitely familiar with, but for the rest of you, having that context is definitely really helpful for me. So if you can, it would be much appreciated if you just drop your understanding of Priority Matrix into the chat box. All right, so what I have here on my screen, this is the integration, the Priority Matrix integration directly through Microsoft Teams. So if you haven't installed this already, you can go to apps in the bottom left corner, type in Priority Matrix, and that's how you'll get PM installed directly into your Teams platform. So in terms of using Priority Matrix with Microsoft Teams, this is going to be kind of the main interface where you do a lot of your collaborative work. So as you can see, just to make it crystal clear, I have Priority Matrix open. I have it pinned open, which I definitely suggest you all do. But from here, you will be able to create those projects, collaborate with your teammates, assign tasks, modify deadlines, share files, really anything under the sun. Awesome. So I'm seeing that some of you have attended other courses, which is definitely great to know, but really anything under the sun in terms of team collaboration, you'll be able to do directly through the full featured Priority Matrix integration with Teams. So, our biggest goal there is to help you stay focused in just one system. So, over the past couple of years, as I'm sure has been made familiar to all of you, there's so many organizations using the Office ecosystem. And one of the biggest challenges we consistently heard was constantly facing distractions, having to leave Teams and look at other platforms to get updates or share updates. So we essentially just decided, well, why don't we just go ahead and integrate with Teams so people can stay in this one environment while also being able to effectively collaborate and share updates. I see one question that came up that said, do other teammates have to have Priority Matrix as well? And the answer is yes. So if you want to share projects and collaborate with each other and use the system together, they would in fact need to download Priority Matrix and have a login as well. So happy to answer any questions about anything you see on the screen here, but what I'm going to do is kind of shift gears and show you all of the other aspects of using Priority Matrix through Microsoft Teams. So again, this is kind of what we talked about in the basic intro, covering all the nitty-gritty features that you see here. So if you look to the left-hand side of my screen, I'm switching gears and I'm actually jumping to a chat through Teams. So as you guys can see, I'll kind of flash this for a second, but I have a ton of different chats in Microsoft Teams, and the primary ones that I work on are the ones with my two managers. So when I'm inside a chat in Microsoft Teams, I may just be talking to somebody saying, hey, how's this going? What's the latest, this and that? And we can kind of collaborate and say, hey, can you work on this for me? Anything you would send through an email or through this chat, you can definitely continue to do that. But when the time comes and you're like, hey, what are the status updates on that project that we've been working on together? What you can actually do is you can add multiple project tabs to these specific one-on-one chats that you have. So when it comes to seeing those progress updates or sharing updates between projects that yourself and this one other person are definitely working on together, just pin that open right here. So you'll see that I have this project, I have another one added here, and it's just as simple as clicking on the plus icon and then typing in Priority Matrix, and you'll be able to add the project view right here. Any changes that you make on this system are going to sync back to the full featured integration. So you definitely don't need to worry about making multiple updates through your priority matrix. The other thing that's really helpful about using priority matrix through a chat is having the ability to utilize the one-on-one view. So great to see some of you have already attended my intro sessions, because that would mean that you're familiar with the one-on-one view. The one-on-one is designed to help you have effective meetings. So again, as many of us do, I spend a lot of time in my team's chats. And when my manager says, hey, Erica, let's hop on a quick call, would love to go over some of the top priorities we've been working on. Again, I don't even have to leave that chat. I can just access my one-on-one right here. And when I do add new priorities, anything like that, again, it's syncing back to the full featured priority matrix integration. So basically, at the end of the day, we've just added these views so you can stay focused where you're working, but also access that critical information. We got a question here, which is, can you add a project to another team site where non-users would be able to see a read-only view? Yes, that's a fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking that. And that's actually a perfect transition into what we were going to look at next. So thanks again for that question. So whether you're working in, and I'll kind of answer this in, both places, whether you're working in a chat like we were just looking at, or in a channel, which would be set up to work with multiple people at the same time. Similar to what we just looked at in the chats, we can still add projects. And this would be basically saying, okay, in this example, here's the contracting team. We are all working on this project together, so we might as well just add it to this team's channel just to make it really easily accessible. In this case, this is a fully functional, fully collaborative project. So anybody in this channel who is also using this project can go in here and we can make as many updates as we need to. But per the question we just got, which is how do we use this with people who are not using priority matrix, but we simply just want to share updates? I'm going to add this here together, but we'll go to add tab. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a read-only version of the project, which anybody in the channel can see and click through, whether or not they're using priority matrix. So this is often used with people who are in consulting. Maybe they're just sharing project updates with their stakeholders. Maybe you're just sharing something with people. You don't want them to make changes, but you want them to be able to see it. So we'll choose a project, and let's see, which one should we add? We'll add this guy. And then what I'm going to do is say share in read-only mode. So when I save this project, again, what happens is nobody can make changes through this view. So this is the perfect way to say, hey, here's what we're working on. Here's our timeline. But you'll see, even if I click on the item, there is still context. There's notes and there's resources, but I'm actually not able to make any changes to this project. We can click through it and these stakeholders could still see all of the different views, like the calendar view, Gantt chart, any information you just share with stakeholders. This is a fantastic way to go about doing that. You'll also notice that they cannot see the conversation. So anything discussed internally will not be showing here. So that's kind of a helpful thing to understand. Karen, let me know if that answers your question. Alternatively, one thing that I always like to mention is, let's say you're in the situation where you're not using priority matrix with somebody and you're also not using Teams with them. What you can do is you can grab a read-only link, copy this, and then just shoot it to them in an email. Say, hey, open this up, check out our timeline and priorities. Then they can, again, just open it up through a web browser in that read-only mode. So kind of two options there. You'll see that in my channel here, there's a lot of things popping up, and these are called connectors. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I get from management is, I need to see all of my notifications in just one central place. So what we came to understand is we need to set up a way to push priority matrix notifications into these channels that people are working in. So you're able to go here, you can click on the three dots, and then you can actually just set up your settings. I guess it would be through the general. We'll go to connectors. And then basically what we're setting up is the ability to say, okay, for X, Y, and Z projects, we need to see these notifications. So you can configure it to show you items that were completed, items that were created, delegated, any type of notification for specific projects, you can funnel directly into these channels. So one more thing that I'll add here. So let's say I say, hey, Bella, can you update this website for me? Kind of a miscellaneous example there. But when we send it, again, a really common piece of feedback that I consistently get from people using Teams is, hey, this is a fantastic system for communicating, setting meetings, and actually connecting for those meetings. But the downside of Teams is, especially in these channels, if there's 5 of us or maybe 15 of us or maybe even more, this comment right here can be lost in the abyss in just a matter of minutes if we're really all communicating. So this is one of our most popular functionalities, because what you can do is you can continue to communicate through here, but you can actually grab this comment and you can create an action item from it. So what's really special about this is now we can choose the correct project we need to prioritize this into. So this will be kind of cool. I'll actually put it in the project that I just added, if I can remember. I think I put that one. You can pick your due date, and you can even add a description. And when we hit create, it's going to give you the little preview. And let's see if I put it, here it is. So if I go back to this project, we're going to be able to see that comment that I just added into that project. So now, again, you are able to continue to communicate through here, but you'll see this priority or this action item is now prioritized. We have our due date and we can track it through there. So let me kind of pause there, since we went over the chat and the channel integrations. Before I move on to anything else, would love to answer any questions that you all may have about that. The next thing that we're going to look at is going to be how you can manage your emails directly through Teams. All right, perfect. So kind of moving on to one of the last few things that I want to show you here, back to the full featured priority matrix integration with Teams. When I click on the search, the little magnifying glass search view here, what happens is we're able to see everything across our entire priority matrix. So all of the priorities that I'm working on and ones that my teammates are working on. So that's definitely super helpful. But at the bottom down here, it's one of the most unique things about priority matrix is the fact that I can actually see all of my meetings, files, and emails all in one place. So let's say I need to see all of the context for a specific client that I'm working with. I can type in that keyword, and now I can see all of my actions that I need to take for them up here. And I can see everything else related to them with that keyword. So maybe it's upcoming meetings, emails from them, whatever it might be, we have it all right here. To take this even one step further, this is an example of an email. If I see this email and I think, okay, this actually carries a pretty heavy load and it does have priorities and action items in it, I can grab it right here and I can send it to my priority matrix, allowing me to prioritize it into the correct quadrant, the correct project, and I can hit add. So again, what we're doing here is we're looking through our emails with a specific context for the keyword that we're looking for, and we're actively prioritizing it. And to this day, I have not seen a system that allows you to see your emails through Teams the way that this does. So incredibly helpful for all of those reasons that we just talked about. If you do spend a lot of your time in Outlook already, which I know a lot of us do, and that's perfectly okay, there are ways to prioritize your emails directly through Outlook. So if you haven't already, go to the Get Add-ins option in Outlook like we have here and type in priority matrix, and then you'll get us added to your Outlook toolbar. And what happens here is kind of similar to what we did through Teams, but you're actually able to grab this email, you can prioritize it, you can pick your deadline, and you can create your action item. So at the end of the day, whether you want to do it through Teams or you want to do it through Outlook, the end result is to get your emails prioritized alongside everything else you're working on. So here we have examples of emails, different priorities, and we have that comment that we prioritize through the channel. So in terms of having visibility and understanding everything you're working on and being able to actively share status updates and receive those from your teammates, now imagine a world where you do this through one system, being Priority Matrix, and you don't have to jump from emails to channels to chats to meetings to Excel spreadsheets, you name it. I've definitely seen people using, dozens of different platforms to stay connected. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you can funnel it all into one place, that's when you're going to be able to reach your highest level of productivity. So a little recap, what we looked at was using Priority Matrix through your chats, your channels, and the email management aspect of this. So that's a lot of information, no doubt. And I want you guys to all know that the meeting support, such as the one-on-one and agenda, which we didn't look at today, I do have a specific webinar for that. And I also have a very specific one for email management. So if you're interested in learning more about either of those topics, let me know. I can send you the link to those upcoming sessions, or as we mentioned, we do have pre-recorded ones. So at this time, I would love to open this up and ask if you guys have any questions, any comments, or any feedback to share with me about this, and I'm happy to kind of address those. And then we can wrap up for the afternoon. So I'll give you guys a few moments to get your questions ready, and I'm definitely excited to hear those. In terms of licensing and kind of account setup, if you are interested in using Priority Matrix as an enterprise solution, definitely let me know. Would love to connect with you one-on-one and learn a little bit more about kind of what your goals look like, your current system, and ultimately when you would need to have this set up by, and then we can kind of work backwards on that timeline. Perfect. I see one person type in here, so we'll give another couple moments to get that question through. Karen, I believe we have a meeting scheduled for today, which is great. Definitely looking forward to that. One other thing I'll add while we wait for that question to come through is tomorrow I'm also hosting a webinar specifically designed for managers. So what that would look like is how managers can share updates to their direct reports and also down to their teammates as well in an effective communication style. So it looks like that is actually it for questions. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and stop the recording, and then we can